It's movie time with John DeSando and his friends online. So everything is gonna be just fine. From the top down to the bottom. He's gonna let you know if you should stay home or if you should go. Might even yell if it's a spectacle. From San Francisco to Long Island. 'Cause nothing's better than a motion video. Listen now.
It's Movie Time. It's produced and hosted by John DeSando. Listen to broadcast shows Fridays at 4:01 and 8:01 p.m. Read reviews and listen to shows online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando,
And I'm K G Kline.
and this is It's Movie Time. So you tell me you're going to diss a Jerry Bruckheimer movie? No, you better not.
I tend to love Brockheimer movies. I've got a long
They
list
are
of
what they
Brockheimer
are.
movies. They are, and he usually makes them a lot of fun. You don't take them too seriously. And that's why I ask myself, why don't I like this one more? I mean, this is a good movie.
All right, we're talking about.
We're talking about F1.
Right.
And this is one of the big summer projected blockbusters.
Yes, right.
A lot of money spent on this movie. This movie stars Javier Bardem and Brad Pitt. And my gosh, Brad Pitt in a racing movie, how can you go wrong, John?
Well, how could you go wrong with Steve McQueen?
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
so
it
you know.
surprises me that it's taken 62 years for Brad Pitt to make a racing movie. But okay, so let's talk about the story. The story of this movie is Javier Bardem is a old-time race car driver who is now the captain of a racing F1 team. However, his team is at the bottom of the barrel. They have not won a single race this entire season. They haven't even finished in the top 10, not once. They are the lowest ranked team of the F1 circuit. But he knows where there's a ringer. He knows where there is an old race car driver who can come in and teach the team to have confidence and trust in themselves and become a winning team. However, that race car driver has got baggage of his own, and now it's the team's responsibility to teach him how to love the sport once again. Now, does that sound familiar, John? I bet if I asked you, you could name 2 other movies with that exact same plot.
And we're going to look at some more racing movies as we get into our podcast. But right now, with this one, I hasten to mention to you that our chief protagonist here is played by Brad Pitt. And that what you're looking at is very much like Steve McQueen. You have an almost iconic actor now.
He's an anti-hero in this.
Yeah.
He plays the kind of role that I would normally associate with Robert Redford, and I think that's a good match for his career as
All
Robert
right.
Redford.
Yeah, by that, yeah. And for me, he's not so much anti-hero. That is, well, because he's an older guy. I mean, Pitt is now 61.
62.
62. He's really.
He and I are the same age.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty old age.
Thanks.
So coming back. Both of you look good, I have to say.
Well, I appreciate it.
I mean,
Yeah.
really. And you see him sculpted in that white shirt. He's been working on it, because this is what these guys do.
Yeah,
They
well,
look-
he's also got a little bit of CGI helping him in a few scenes too. Yeah,
I know.
yeah, especially when they try to show him in his 20s.
Yeah, but I thought that he and his teammate were a good match.
They were a good match.
Damson.
He is the classic.
Damson Idris.
He's the damaged athlete who has lost faith in the sport, but is still.
Meaning?
What's that?
Who are you talking about?
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt.
is the I consider him an anti-hero, but he's the jaded athlete who's lost his love of the sport, but is still at the top of his game. Nobody can do what he does, and he's able to come in and show the team how to win. And but in the F1, you don't have a driver competing against other teams. You have 2 drivers on the same team who are, in theory, supposed to be helping each other on the race car track by blocking other drivers so that their teammate can get by. And there's a whole strategy to this that you don't see in things like NASCAR or IndyCar racing. And they try to exploit that by trying to make his teammate his rival, his opponent. And that's one of the problems I have with this movie, is this movie doesn't really give us a rival. They don't give us another team to root against, because the opponent becomes his partner halfway through the film.
Well,
and now there is no rival.
I thought that this was going to be a virtue of the film, that you exclude all, you know how they'll always cut to other racers?
Right.
And this one, you don't even know there are other
All you
racers.
see is cars and nameless people in racing
Which
suits.
is not a bad idea, as a different way of looking at it. It doesn't work out that way. In fact, they don't let this character, Joshua, emerge really toward the end, till the end of the film. It's almost always concentrating on pretty Brad Pitt and his possible affair with Carrie Condon's character.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain elements of this, and Bardem is always a delight. What a great,
He's wonderful.
he is.
We don't get enough of him in this
No,
movie.
we don't, yeah, right.
And he fills such a stereotype character that he doesn't get a chance to really act to his full abilities.
Yeah, right.
And neither does Pitt. Pitt kind of just walks through this movie, I think.
Now, I'll tell you another thing that I liked and didn't like. I love the machines. Wow, are they just absolutely beautiful? But I can't tell too much of a difference unless you show me the helmets. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't, by looking at the cars, and because we're never introduced to Team Ferrari and Team McLaren,
Right.
and we don't get to know their drivers and their cars, they just become a whoosh on the track going by or that you're passing. And that is one of the problems I have, is they don't establish who is the good guys and who is the bad guys in this movie, so you never get that sense of joy when suddenly they start winning, because it's who they're beating is nobody.
One thing also that I really liked was the strategies. You know how you touch tires,
Mhm.
how you force some kind of an accident that brings out the
Except that almost everything they do in this movie would never be allowed in an actual F1 race.
yes.
There are so many lapses of logic in the course of this movie. For instance, when a race car driver joins a team, he has to be vetted, not just by the team, but by F1. He would have had to undergo a whole battery of medical tests before he would ever be allowed anywhere near an F1 track, and that eliminated a big plot point that happens 2/3 of the way through the movie.
A couple of times they shoot him coming from long distance.
Yeah.
You know, and they can't believe it's going to be he.
He's walking in with the bag in
Yeah,
his
with
hands.
the bag. I'm
Yes.
thinking to myself, well, this is imitating Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
You know, frequently they'll do that.
Maverick. Yeah, there's a little bit of Top Gun and Maverick in this movie,
Well,
to be sure.
We need to mention that Joseph Kosinski was the director
Of Maverick.
of Maverick.
Right.
And was Bruckheimer's always been the...
Bruckheimer's always been involved in that franchise.
Okay, yeah.
And Bruckheimer has a lot of experience working with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
So, Pitt is stepping into the Tom Cruise character.
Yes, he is.
But this movie, John, is just so predictable. If you've
You
seen,
think-
if you've seen
It's called Formula One.
Formula
It's
One.
got to be Formula
if you've seen the Bad News Bears or you've seen Killer Ducks,
It is.
you've seen this same plot.
It is. It's very funny.
I can tell what was going to happen a half hour in the future at any given moment in this movie.
But I'll tell you, they've come a long way in the way that they film these.
They
I
have.
really think it's ingenious. So whatever they do with their cameras.
Money was spent on this movie. The filming of the movie is gorgeous. It's worth seeing on a big IMAX screen just for the great race sequences, even if the rest of it just kind of falls
Oh,
flat.
no, and I'm glad to hear you say that, because I enjoyed it, but I knew it was a mediocre movie. But I did enjoy it for a summer night, sitting there by myself, actually with Wayne,
Mhm.
in the theater, and I'm really very happy.
It is an enjoyable...
I'm saying, as it starts, I say, here we go. He's going to come back. The old man is coming back. And so I said, let me write the script here for them.
If you don't take it too seriously
No,
and
that's
you don't
it.
think about it too much,
Thank you.
it's an enjoyable movie.
Yes.
It's just, with all the money that was spent and all the talent in this movie, how come they couldn't come up with something more original? Why couldn't they give us something like Ford versus Ferrari? Or even that Ferrari movie with Adam Driver from 2 years
Yeah,
ago
right.
is a better movie than this is.
But let's say-
But it has got some great
You know,
racing sequences.
you and I have talked about this at length, and there's no answer to our discussion. But the money makes a big difference, and when you can rely on a certain formula, and was in an F1 a formula, where you're guaranteed a certain return. I think it's got to be a real conflict between that and your investors, and even yourself, as to whether you're going to have a deeply important movie or whether you're going to have a superficially slick movie. And I think more often than not they go for slick.
I think you're definitely right about that. I think when you're looking for the lowest common denominator, you're going to want to try to make everybody enjoy the movie but not necessarily try to break new ground.
Where in the film do you find anything original?
Nowhere. Other than, this is Brad Pitt's first racing movie, and that just blows me away. I would have thought that would have happened years ago.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, it is. And when I thought that, I'm like, didn't somebody think of this when he was still in his 40s?
I'll tell you what was satisfying to me, his romance with Carrie Condon.
I liked it, I just had a hard time understanding her.
Her
Her accent is so thick in this movie.
I know.
I
It's
can
not
pick up.
Cockney, right? It's,
No,
but it's
it's a heavy, I believe it's supposed to be a Irish accent.
Is it?
Yeah, and it's so thick and heavy, it's really hard sometimes to understand what
Well, another formulaic part of this is that he comes in the hotshot, and she's the chief architect
Mhm.
of cars that really haven't made it. I mean, he's
Well, but she's also, as a woman, to be in charge of the engineering
Yeah,
for an F1 team
yeah.
is really an accomplishment. And she stands her ground. She stands up to him and says, "You don't understand what it took for me to get here. I started out as a designer for fighter planes for Lockheed before I got lured away into the sport." So she's really the hero of the film more than I think Pitt is.
Oh, well, and to their credit, she's not the most ravishingly beautiful woman who ever was
No,
on
the mechanic's cuter.
Huh?
The mechanic is cuter, the one that changes the tires.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And where was she?
I wanted to see a lot more of
I know.
her.
I mean, I thought she had promise.
Yeah, she was a character that caught my attention early on, and then she kind of goes away. But
Yeah.
she was the one that I really wish we'd seen more of.
I think she's too much of a resemblance to Condon. I mean, with the ponytail.
Younger and cuter.
Younger
Yeah.
and cuter, but the ponytail.
Yeah.
And the woman amongst the men and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but I thought that had promise, showed some sparks of imagination, but otherwise, there just wasn't any.
No.
But as you counseled, and as I have always counseled, go in with where Joseph Kosinski wants you to go. Go with him, and then say, is this a good ride or not at the end?
I think, John, this is a movie that's going to do a lot better in Europe. Because F1 racing is not as well known in the United States as it is in Europe. That's a European style of racing.
Yeah,
Here we've got NASCAR,
right, yeah.
we've got IndyCar, and you might think IndyCar is similar to F1, but they're nothing alike.
Yeah.
And you also would never have a situation where a guy has just finished racing the Daytona 24 hours,
Right.
and then 2 days later he's racing F1. That would be like being a fighter pilot one day and a crop duster the next.
But you got to admit, what irritates the hell out of me is that the trailer shows one of the best exchanges between the two of them, in which our Damson character Joshua asks him what he's done recently. You know what? I just came from Daytona. I just took Daytona. He said, "Oh, I meant F1," and then Pitt says to him, "Just like you."
Yes.
I thought that was a great little piece.
It is, and there is some cute little exchanges with Pitt always getting the upper hand and always getting the best line. You almost at one point want Pitt to get shut down and shown for what he is, which is just this vagabond. But there's a lapse in logic that people keep throwing money at this guy, tons of money, and he keeps turning away and then driving off in his '74 Ford Econoline. Content. No.
All right,
no.
K G Kline. We need to talk further about racing movies, and more if we have anything more to say about F1. But what do you advise your audience?
If you're going to look for a racing movie this year, this is your only choice.
Duh.
It's a fun movie. Just don't, if you know anything about F1, don't expect there to be much logic to this movie. And don't expect it to be a real original. You've seen this before. You've seen this story before. Just go and have fun. Watch it on a big screen. Watch the racing, and it's Brad Pitt.
The cinematography is wonderful, and I think this is what America does. It does this kind of an exciting
You
film.
can't fault a big budget sports film.
Right.
Usually they're going to, even when they're bad, they're good.
No, right. So for a summer, and if you're not asking too much, and we always dial down on our criticism in the summertime. So we want to make sure that people get out to the theaters. This is a good one to go to.
Yeah, just don't expect it to be Ford versus Ferrari.
From San Francisco to Long Island, 'cause nothing's better